All right. Hello, everyone. Um, so this stage we'll be covering exactly. Well, firstly, we want to say welcome to the stage, and this will be for Atlas 0.4 and how we'll be covering how it compares to 0.3, a showcase of the installation, and a walkthrough of all the new changes, as well as anything else major in the changelog, which will also be released pretty much right after the stream. And you'll also have an opportunity to ask any questions at the end. So, yeah, Jack, do you have anything to
Yeah, the only thing that people are probably thinking right now is when it's going to release. And I know people probably didn't see the post, but it's literally going to come out like in an hour from now. So when we're finished with this stage event and we have AMA, we will then be preparing the release, and it will go live. For people that are watching on YouTube, this is hosted in our Discord server, which is discord.gg/atlasos, and you should join that when you get the chance, of course.
Yeah. So, there's everyone in the Discord as well, which after the release is done, you'll also be able to ask for help or anything for everyone on YouTube. So, the Discord really is a good place to join if you want to just interact with the community as well. Right, so
Let's move on to comparing the new release 0.4 to 0.3.
yeah. Okay. So 0.3 was the update that really added many updates to many more Windows features to Atlas. For example, there was Defender, there was Windows Update, and there was also just several other fixes and changes. It was probably the biggest Atlas update so far. And with that, it kind of meant that it was bound to not be fully polished, although much more than previous versions. And 0.4's goal is to basically just polish 0.3 and make it even more compatible and stable. And
yeah, and that's also all done without loss of performance as well, just to keep that in mind.
yeah, the increased stability actually might help in certain areas that we wouldn't even know, as in some application might depend on a certain Windows feature or component that was previously disabled or removed in 0.3, but now 0.4 will simply re-enable that, and within the reason of compatibility, but also not touching performance in any way possible. And that can affect many things, not just compatibility.
Yeah. For people that use the forum to give back suggestions and also bug fixes, we've gone ahead and gone through all the posts that have been posted there and use this feedback to polish this new release. Also GitHub issues as well. So I'll let Hills run through some notable changes. However, like you said, there is a full changelog that's going to be released in text form, and the release, which is just after the AMA.
Yeah, so some of the notable changes that apply to what we've already covered is, well, first of all, 0.4 has new themes, which it will showcase once we get to the installation, or more like the showcase of it installed. And the 0.3 themes will also be included. So you basically have a choice of whichever themes you'd like. And there's also the Windows themes included. However, something that's new with the Windows themes is now that Windows Spotlight is supported for anyone that wants to use it, which is where you have daily or kind of routinely changing backgrounds from Bing or wherever else. And I know some users requested that, so that's new, and we'll be showcasing that later. there's also lots more like to customize, not just Windows Spotlight. And although everything I'm about to list is optional, even if you don't use the features, it makes Atlas much more modular and therefore increases the stability and compatibility. So, one of the most notable things is that Game Bar is installed and supported by default, which means that some users currently with 0.3 were having issues with getting it reinstalled and such, which basically means that, well, the current version, like in 0.4, it means
I'm going to continue from what he was saying. With Game Bar coming back, I know that some people may see this as an annoyance. However, with the return of it, it means that we're fixing the error that some people had when they tried to launch a game and they would get a pop-up. Not only that, but also people on newer Ryzen CPUs means you're going to be able to get a performance boost as well. And also keep in mind that Game Bar is only accessible, the overlay is only accessible through a shortcut, which is Windows key and G. So for people that think that it's going to be negative, that won't be the case.
Yeah, sorry about that. Something just happened in my house. I had to go quickly check it out, but anyways. Yeah, so Jack just covered basically what Game Bar really is and what changes. However, there's also now web search, which is completely optional, which is where you can use the Windows search and get web results embedded in it, and you can also get like anything else. And that is completely optional, by the way, but some people did want that, and yeah, that's in Atlas. There's also widgets or news and interests on Windows 10, which are feeds for like news, weather, whatever else, which is also completely optional. Uninstalling Edge is also fixed, which was broken in the latest 0.3 installs due to a Microsoft update. And there's also a complete refactoring or redoing of Atlas's network settings, where you've got Wake on LAN, VLAN, and any other potential network issues are very likely to be fixed now. Additionally, many scripts previously that were used internally in Atlas for changing features, customizing, whatever else, some of them had bugs in them, and now they've been completely rewritten, so they should be much more stable, and yeah, you should just generally experience much less issues when going through the Atlas folder. But to put it to a summary, 0.4 is the release you'd really want to be on for future Atlas support and kind of the long-term stability of your installation, as now pretty much everything is customizable. There's much more user choice. So, should we move on?
Yeah, so now what we're going to get into is the AME wizard changes. When we originally moved to AME Wizard, we weren't really allowing too many supports for customization. With the support then added, we were able to add different options inside of this installer for the 0.3 release. Now, as you can see on the screen, we are showing off some new options that are now available when setting up your Atlas installation. Some of these options which are new is choosing whether or not automatic updates are enabled or disabled, as originally it was only manual. So for people that want that, they can have that. You can also enable and disable printing by default. Hibernation. You can choose to remove the snipping tool. You can customize your notifications. And we've also made installing a browser an optional part instead of so we're able to fit in an extra browser, which is now we've added Firefox and LibreWolf, and we've removed WaterFox as well.
Yeah, WaterFox was removed because it's generally less familiar with users compared to Firefox. And for anyone that still wants to use Waterfox, you can just install it after the installation. There's the install software script inside the Atlas folder, and that has the option to install Waterfox if you want to. However, to elaborate on the new separate remove Edge and install a browser options, you can now either keep Edge and install a new browser. You can also install no browsers, and yeah, that just means it's overall more customizable. It's a small thing, but if anyone wants both Edge and another browser, they can.
Yeah. And we also have the option for originally we had it so you could, if you chose no browser, you would then be able to remove Edge, and then instead this option is kept as separate, so you can remove or keep Edge as well while installing browser as well.
Yeah, something else to note in Amy Wizard is that the activation requirement is now removed, and users are free to use Windows unactivated, and Atlas will not modify the activation, by the way, and it still maintains the compliance, having users, keep it unactivated, because that's the user's own choice at that point. It's out of ours, but yeah, that should make it so that if someone wants to use Atlas in a VM or something and they don't want to buy a key or pirate Windows, then they can just use it.
Now what we're going to move on to is a showcase from Hills, where he's going to show off 0.4 in action. We're going to show you some of the different changes that were the very notable changes that you'll probably notice off the start. For instance, like the new wallpaper. And we'll get into the details from the folder and other parts as well.
Yeah. Alright, so firstly, you can notice new Atlas background, and I'll also take a look at the themes. We've now got the light version of the 0.4 background, which looks like this. And then we also have the 0.3 backgrounds for anyone that still wants those. However, there's still the Windows backgrounds just like 0.3, so if you want to have a more stock Windows experience, there you have it. Except from that, in the Atlas folder, now, there used to just be a remove Edge script, but now it can also reinstall Edge. If anyone wants to just reinstall Edge properly. And there's also been a few updates to the install software script, and there's some more software. As I said before, you can install Waterfox here, but you can also have Startleback, Explorer Patcher, and if you chose to remove Snipping Tool in Amy Wizard, you can reinstall it here, although you can also reinstall it from the Microsoft Store. And in each folder, we have a link to the documentation now, which we'll get to in a bit. Drivers, you can choose to either enable or disable drivers from Windows Update, which is the manual and automatic driver updates that we were talking about in our documentation. Hopefully it simplifies it for users that maybe are struggling with manual driver installation or updates, and as I said, we've also got the documentation link here. Now, here's where many of the changes are. It's been renamed to general configuration. That's because we wanted to categorize it more instead of just having basically configuration and configuration. It's now separated into just general configuration and specifically interface tweaks. So in the general configuration, what's new is when you can customize Windows Update stuff. So for example, you can disable or enable automatic updates, which you're also prompted to do in the Amy Wizard custom features. Additionally, you can disable or enable delivery optimization, which is a feature that allows you to share Windows updates on your local network to improve performance. However, it can also cause sometimes issues with bandwidth usage, just in the background. You can also disable or enable update notifications, which are notifications you'll get if there's new updates available that you should install. You can have, and they're enabled by default just to notify users that updates are there, but they will not install automatically unless you click them and then click check for updates. Additionally, we've got Windows Spotlight. I can show that. So I'll run the file. And select Windows Spotlight. As you can see, it just grabbed a image from Bing or Windows Spotlight, and that is now the background. I can also apply that to the lock screen. There. So yeah, although Windows Spotlight, we can't really disable the ads on it because that's just how it's built. It's completely optional, and if you really wanted to, there's an alternative app here which doesn't have the ads in Windows Spotlight that we've linked. Additionally, we've got widgets in all news and interests where you can have the widgets in your taskbar, and it will show you the weather or whatever else, both on Windows 10 and 11. Then we've got web search. We'll enable that. As you can see, you have this optionally. You can search whatever, and it will show in your search results. Also have mobile devices, and previously on Atlas this wasn't completely supported. This setting page was hidden, and it had phone link and linking your phone to Windows in general had certain issues, which wasn't really the best experience. However, now it's all fixed, and you can perfectly install and update all the phone linking apps included in Windows.
Yeah, I think a lot of people or have posted this on the forum because a lot of people seem to use the phone link and actually have chosen not to use Atlas because of it. Hence why we're adding a lot more usability back into Atlas as optional. So in case there is something that you do use normally, you can also use that on Atlas and also be able to benefit from the performance that it gives.
Yeah, all of these things are completely optional. You just have the options there now. On Windows 11, there's 2 separate phone linking apps, and both of them are completely supported. We've also got Copilot for anyone that wants to use it. It does require Edge, but that isn't necessarily an issue. I'm presuming if you're using Copilot, you don't mind Edge. But yeah, if you really wanted to use Copilot, you have it, and that's on both Windows 10 and 11 now. Microsoft has done. Although it's clearly disabled by default. Game bar. We've simplified this because you can't actually fully disable game bar anyways by default. If it's installed, the shortcut will always be accessible, and yeah, you can't just kind of disable it without uninstalling it, which then causes issues. Additionally, having game bar by default, it actually can increase performance of certain CPUs by putting it on certain cores that are more optimized for games due to cache reasons or whichever else, which is definitely an improvement, I think. And then we've got interface tweaks. Documentation here again. We've moved some folders like the visual effects and the start menu into here because it makes sense categorically. And we've got a few new tweaks in here as well. So we've got a context menus folder where you can have terminals for developers primarily, or just anyone else that wants them. As you can see in the context menu now, you can just open a terminal wherever you are, and just it'll be in that directory that you selected in. We've also got take ownership, which is useful for people that like are trying to get a file and they can't access it or whatever, it says access denied or something, you can simply add this context menu. Wait a second. Yep. And then you can right click, take ownership, and there you go. It's now owned by you, so you can do whatever to the file. We've also rewritten this script, which was in Windows, which was in Atlas previously, but now it's a lot more stable and less broken in certain aspects. Additionally, we've got this new tweak, which is, it's a feature in Windows where if you can accidentally like swipe or do a gesture in full screen apps, like certain full screen games from the Microsoft Store, you can accidentally trigger a gesture where you hover at the top and a context menu or like a title bar comes up. That's disabled by default, but you can toggle it. Unlock recent items. You can now have the run box history. For example, if I type in CMD, as you can see, it still persists there. If I type in or WinBar, you can see now there's a history, which you weren't able to do in the previous version of Atlas. And you can also have it in File Explorer, so enable all that, and you can see now there's a recent section. And that's what that script does, it just unlocks that. Additionally, in the interface tweaks, verbose status messages. If you sign in and out, I can do that real quick. Let me just sign out. As you can see, it's more verbose. It shows exactly what Windows is doing at that stage. And that's just a small quality of life tweak. Security, this hasn't changed, but we have got the link here. However, Defender also has... The Defender script is a lot more stable now. Certain installations would fail when disabling Defender, but now that has been rewritten and should be a lot more stable. And yeah, I think that's everything covered in the Atlas folder, and just overall. Do you have anything else to add, Jack?
No, I mean, it's just to keep in mind that with all these changes, what we're trying to do is create a better experience for people that are looking to use Atlas and main it as an operating system, but are scared of missing out on features, because I think a big connotation right now with Atlas is that people think that it's not going to be as stable as Windows, and we are trying to remove that and be able to allow for more features directly in the Atlas folder to be re-enabled. And this is also evident with us not removing components at all, except from Windows Defender, which is an optional tweak and reversible.
Yeah, exactly. So, tying into how this actually affects just users, you might be thinking, well, I don't really use any of these features. This is basically the first major step into upgradability for Atlas. So future versions from 0.4 are highly likely to be able to be upgraded to, which means if you're on 0.4 and the new version releases, it's very likely that you'll be able to upgrade. And that's because everything is modular. As you can see, everything is customizable, what Atlas does, and that means we don't remove anything that's irreversible. And yeah, that should definitely help for the stability of Windows and Atlas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're going to move on to now is we're going to cover the new documentation. We've, well, mostly Hills has rewritten a lot of the different points. Also added the Atlas folder items as well into the docs, so you can read more about them. And yeah.
Yeah. So here is the general configuration folder that I showed previously. Everything here has been rewritten and updated to reflect the new Atlas folder, and they all of them also have icons now, which is more I mean, it looks nicer and plus it's more accessible. So this hopefully should mean that a lot less people are kind of confused to what certain things do in the Atlas folder, because now it's literally all documented and anyone can read and see exactly what Atlas is doing. And that's the same with the other Atlas folders as well. For example, interface tweaks, the Windows settings folder, advanced configuration, security. Additionally, the installing Atlas OS page, that is had a major overhaul since the initial release of 0.3, as well as the documentation theme. Previously, it was kind of grey and blue at the top, but now it looks quite a bit more modern in our opinions. And yeah, I think that's mostly everything with the Atlas documentation. It's mostly just a lot more polished and well written now.
Yeah, so with all of these settings, with all of these changes on the documentation, sorry, means that we're able to allow for more users, especially people who have issues with understanding, like written English. We've tried to move away from making it complicated and instead making it as simple and as understandable as possible. We are aware that a lot of people have been requesting a video, and we are planning to create a video, and that should be coming out soon. So for people that are interested in having a video, however, this is not right now available.
Yeah. Something else to note in the documentation is that if you haven't saw before, we now have an Ask AI button, and you can ask anything in the AI. It isn't set up right now because this is the development version of documentation, but on the actual documentation when Atlas is released, the 0.4, the Ask AI would work just fine, and you'll be able to ask any questions, which we recommend before like asking the Discord, because it might just have your answer right there.
All right. So now what we're going to be doing is the AMA. So if you have a question to ask us about the Atlas v0.4, you can raise your hand and someone from the team will bring you up onto the stage where you can ask it in voice and we will answer.
Yeah.
So raise your hands and soon you'll be chosen.
Right, so quite a few people are raising their hands.
I did not expect to be the first one to be on here.
Hello.
I've actually been, well, when I first discovered Atlas, it was whenever y'all were, doing the ISO and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was on like a crappy little HP laptop. Decided I'm gonna get some more performance. So I just installed Atlas, did all the steps. And now I've just been here ever since. Way before Linus Tech Tips and all that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
great
I
to
mean,
hear.
there's a lot of people in the community, and shout out to you guys if you have been here for like a while. We really do appreciate, of course, the care that you guys give to the project, and it's very nice to hear that from you.
Yeah, also can't wait for my shirt to arrive as well.
Oh yeah, from the Ko-Fi donation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And
Yeah,
as you can see on the...
I was
Sorry
actually
to interrupt.
featured in the first live stream of version 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the v0.3.
Yeah, the one that Incredible Zombie recorded.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Oh, that's
I'm
pretty cool.
gonna head out now, so you can just put me back down there if you want me to.
Alrighty.
Yeah, about the Ko-Fi, by the way, you can see on the stream that there's like, thanks to our supporters, you can get certain things if you donate on the Ko-Fi. For example, if you really wanted to, you could get an Atlas t-shirt. And yeah, that's all available on our Ko-Fi, which you can see in the donate channel or on our Discord or on the website.
Alright, let's have someone else come up. Hello.
Hello?
Hi.
Alright. So I just want to ask real quick. So I've noticed that for all the features that I've seen, like enabling Copilot, like all that stuff, that's more in the post-install rather than the pre-install. So I wondered, like, if wouldn't that like increase the final like storage space, storage usage from on like a fresh install of Atlas?
No, the storage size is actually completely the same. About Copilot, that depends on Edge, but you can choose to remove Edge, and you can also uninstall Edge after disabling Copilot again. And
Okay.
for the other features, they were already in Atlas, but they were just basically piled on with configurations on top of configurations that made it so they just weren't functional, but now they are completely functional.
Oh, okay. All right. That's all I wanted to ask. All right.
Alright, thank you.
All right. Who's gonna be chosen next?
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Oh shit, where to, I think.
I'm just gonna mute that guy. Hello, Raz.
Um, so, what's the difference? What's the performance gap from the 0.3 and 0.4?
Right, so with 0.3, we can't really just keep infinitely increasing the performance. However, with all the stability and compatibility changes, it should not only make for a more stable system, but it could also potentially resolve any performance issues in the process. For example, with Game Bar being installed by default for modern AMD CPUs on games, that should help quite a bit with performance because it moves the game onto the proper cores for games.
All right.
Yeah, I think that with what he said, a lot of people think that there's like infinite amounts of optimizations that can be stuck into Windows, and that's not really the case. I mean, you can do as much as possible, but once then you start to get into some placebo things which don't really make a difference and cause issues while you're doing them. And we're trying to create the balance of privacy, performance, and usability, and that's why right now you're able to do so much on Atlas whilst having amazing performance.
Yeah, I mean, Atlas isn't just about performance, it's also just compatibility and security and everything, and we're trying to combine everything into one to make still the same performance, but just a better Windows experience at the same time.
All right, hello Gamma.
Hello. Oh yeah, I just came here to ask, when is Atlas 0.5 coming out?
0.5. Okay.
After 0.4.
Yeah, after 0.4. That's, that's the best answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Atlas's releases though will try and make them more like frequent, so that especially as you can update now, after 0.4, it's planned to be able to update. It means that updates will be a lot smoother and you won't have to fully reinstall Windows. So yeah, we'll have more frequent releases for stability.
Hello.
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 Hi. I'd like to ask, like, have you guys like sort of making a like Linux kernel like with optimized Linux?
I mean, Linux is already pretty optimized, and I feel like it'd be out of the realm of Atlas. There's so many like distributions available that I think users have so many options that Atlas wouldn't really be needed in that case. I mean, Linux is literally the alternative to Windows that fixes most of its issues.
Yeah. Okay. That's all
Right.
I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, keep putting your hands up if you have any good questions to ask us.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there. I wanted to find out from you guys with regards to brand laptops, the power options on 0.3, it kept defaulting back to either Windows power options instead of the Atlas performance scheme, or it completely blocked like the ability to change power options. Is this something that's been fixed in
Right.
0.4?
Yeah, so so this isn't actually in our control. What brand laptops do, OEM manufacturers, for instance, Dell, they completely block on the firmware level the ability for you to do that. So being able to add like a power plan, for instance, like the Atlas Performance Power Plan, it is why it's removed. And when you go to your settings and you only see balanced, and you're only able to use like the little dial that they give you. It's just a thing for OEM manufacturers that they enforce, so they don't have issues with like heating and a lot of repairing issues.
I see. When you add a power plan, you can create a custom one, and I found that after creating one, you can go back and actually select the Atlas performance scheme. But first, you have to create one. So, is there no like sort of workaround that you guys could work on to maybe force the Atlas performance scheme to constantly run?
We'll look into it, but I think that'll be for a future release. But maybe it is fixed in 0.4. We don't know.
Okay. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hey everyone. Good afternoon. In the latest Atlas 04 release, how does your team strike a balance between implementing security measures and addressing user privacy concerns? And in addition to that, could you outline specific changes made in this update to enhance the security and privacy of users, as well as elaborate on concerns that have already been addressed?
Yeah, so we can actually elaborate on that. Since 0.2, or since Atlas is released pretty much, the privacy changes and stuff, it's pretty much stayed the same, as in the amount of privacy that users should have should theoretically stay the same. Because each update, we've had made it so that, for example, if you want to disable Windows Defender for extreme privacy reasons or something, then you can toggle it. Atlas toggles it at a component level, which means that there's no remnants of Windows Defender left on your computer except for when you re-enable it, because it's basically stored away in a Windows folder. And about telemetry or any other privacy concerns, the policies and the components removed have basically stayed the same. We've just used different methods which achieve the same result.
Gotcha. Thank you for answering. Appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Hello, people of the Atlas. Am I okay to ask two questions? Just one's really quick one.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just before I do, I just want to say it's quite nice to see how far this project has come. I've always kind of been like lurking in the back. I'll pop my head in every now and then, but it's quite nice to see how much has happened with this project. That being said, just two things from me. So, firstly, is there? I imagine the answer is no to this question. Is there going to be a repeat of the 0.3.1 incident? And if not, which I assume is not, what precautions are in place? What precautions have you taken to make sure that's not going to happen again, and it's not any kind of, you have to reinstall twice in a day kind of thing?
Yeah, okay. So the reason why that won't happen again is because firstly 0.3 was a massive update, as in we added Windows Defender, Windows Update, just so many rewrites and more features added to Atlas that it was pretty hard to make sure that was going to be stable on every single person's computer, and we didn't see in hindsight that some people or some installations of Windows will have issues. However, with 0.4, it's basically meant to polish what 0.3 already built, and that means it's kind of a lot less surface area for things to go wrong. And we've also done much more testing this time, and yeah, there's just generally been so much issues fixed. I kind of doubt that anything major will happen like that.
Okay, swag. Just second one, and this one's a bit more of a kind of a longer one. I believe, just correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you said that WaterFox was swapped out for LibreFox. And I remember back in, so this is a commits roughly November 2023. There was this whole thing. To be honest, I started it. Sorry, started a conversation on why. Back then it was LibreFox which was swapped out for WaterFox, and for both the reasoning for both that and now for WaterFox being swapped out for LibreWolf was that it was quite confusing for the end user, and there wasn't any familiarity. So I didn't know if there could be like any kind of clear up on that. If I've, like I said, if I've misconstrued that, then correct me. But I didn't know if there could be a clear up on that at all.
Right, so now in 0.4 we've got 4, or technically 5 browser options. The 4 browsers that you can install are Firefox, Brave, LibreWolf, and Chrome. You now have the option to install either Firefox or LibreWolf. And there's also a link that links to documentation in AMI Wizard that compares the browsers.
Okay, I'm still a bit confused because it's like it was a LibreWolf got pulled for WaterFox in the initial one, and then it got pulled out again for LibreFox. So
yeah, so I mean the underlining it, like the full stop on the end is that when we were originally having this, it was a choice between 3 different browsers, and then now what we've done is we've created it as install a browser as an option, which allows us to remove the no browser option, which was originally part of the AMI Wizard. So we're able to add 1 more browser. And WaterFox was a strike between a privacy, an actual browser that likes to preserve people's privacy, and also one that doesn't break loads of websites. And that's why we chose WaterFox over Firefox, and why we chose it over LibreWolf, because LibreWolf was kind of a very strict browser to give to lots of people. So now we have 4 options. We're able to offer Firefox and LibreWolf, and then we're able to offer Brave and Chrome.
all right, okay, cool, got it. Anyway, I'm gonna go drink my life away now. Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Don't do that. All right, we'll have 2 more people up. Hello.
Hey there, is that me?
Hi. Yeah, it is. Welcome.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just was wondering. So there's a couple questions in the chat about AMI Wizard. How does that differentiate between your project? And then I also been turned on to another project called COUTX, CoutX or CoutX. And I'm very new to modifying Windows, and I'm just wondering, I could read for hours between the different websites as far as how do you feel your project differentiates itself between maybe CoutX and maybe AMI Wizard?
Is the tool you're referring to for the CoutX or yeah, are you referring to the Chris Titus utility?
I believe so. I need to go back to the GitHub page, but
yeah, okay. Well, that's kind of, well, if that is what you're talking about, other scripts and applications, they kind of focus on different scopes of Windows. For example, I think Chris Titus utility has like lots of application like installations and stuff that it can do. But we generally, just as a note, we wouldn't recommend using other tools on Atlas because that might conflict with optimizations and such that we have specifically picked out. but
The GitHub is unloved cookie, but I'm not sure the person's name
oh
is.
right, okay. Sorry, I got the wrong tool then. Yeah, I haven't heard of it, but so I can't really
Well,
compare.
it's just another optimization for Windows. It's a bunch of PowerScript. Anyway, I can do my own research, but I was like, it's gonna take me hours and hours and hours to go through this. I'm just like, yeah, sorry, I'm new to you guys, and I tried to install it on a VM just to test it out. I had some issues with getting to my LAN, and I posted something in the Discord to try to get some help, but nobody responded. So I was like, I don't know, I'll revert Windows in my LAN, but because I couldn't connect to my. But it looks like you guys have a bunch of scripts that allow you to restore things that that might have been disabled by the initial install of Atlas. So I wasn't aware of that. So anyway, I'll do more research and check up on the Discord and continue to learn.
Right. Yeah, about your issue, a lot of the networking has been, or the network tweets moreover, they have been redone for 0.4, which might fix your issue. Additionally, there's file sharing and network discovery scripts in the Atlas folder, and re-enabling all of that might also solve that issue.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I just want to also touch before we bring someone else up. Of course, running any optimization tools on top of Atlas is not really good, because it means that you're not running what we would expect you to run. So if you have issues or have like loss in performance or stability problems, then that's not going to be directly related to Atlas. It's going to be because of like running scripts on Atlas. And Atlas isn't just like a script; it's more like an entire kit and an entire modification of Windows, which kind of takes it to the next level than running like a script on the computer.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the final person.
Okay, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
All right. I have just 2 quick questions that will be like the Firefox and the other browser installations that get selected in the AME tool is going to be a default installation, or are there going to be any policy applied to them?
Sorry, which component? Sorry.
When the user select a browser in the AME tool before installing Atlas, right?
Yeah.
Is it going to be
okay.
a default installation, or is there going to be any policy applied to it?
Yeah. They're left by default because we kind of want to have users choose browsers that by default kind of suit their needs anyways, but on top of that, we don't really want to add any settings that the users might not expect, or potentially cause compatibility issues and such. Although we might like fine-tune certain settings in future versions of Atlas.
Yeah, that would be cool, like to have the user to choose to implement the policy or not.
Yeah.
And also the other question is there any possibility to add a Ventoy config like the RevUS one, where it's gonna block the driver updates and stuff like that?
We have an alternative method of doing that. In that installation docs, it's covered, which we also showcased previously in the event. But it walks you through. It walks you through like installing Windows without a USB stick and getting to the desktop without any internet. I was just wondering
when the user would choose to go with the USB install, if there could be any possibility to add the Ventoy config or anything else.
I mean,
yeah, I mean that's completely possible because inside of the download for Atlas, you get a registry key which allows you to block driver updates, and you can use this on a USB stick and just drag it on off of the USB stick, and you can you can use it. It helps you
Yeah, but
set up a clean installation without drivers being downloaded from Windows.
in that case, you should actually boot into the OS without the internet connection, right?
Yeah, it guides you through that in the installation docs.
Yeah. So wouldn't it be easier with a Vintoy config that does that for you?
We don't currently have a USB flow. We support the regular flow and
Okay.
instruct users to instead install Windows and then follow the steps from which is on the docs.
So it's recommended to use the setup option, right?
Yeah, the method we provide in the documentation.
All right. And nothing else. I just wanna thanks you for the hard work and nothing. And have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is going to be the end of the AMA. So I appreciate you guys all coming out to the stage event. In exactly 9 minutes, fingers crossed, we will have the update released and a ping will be notified in the Discord server. And you will be able to get 0.4 through the website. So if you're interested in that, we'll put the website and you'll get a ping which will notify you and you can download 0.4. Please also remember that you're not able to upgrade from 0.3 to 0.4. You are required to do a reinstall as this is a major release. In future releases, we hope to be able to allow you to upgrade. But for this release, that is not going to be possible. So please follow the installation guide to be able to install 0.4. And don't try and do it without the installation guide.
Yeah. Also, just to reiterate what I said earlier, due to how past 0.4 there will be upgrades available, that likely means that there will be more frequent Atlas updates, which you can just simply upgrade to fix any stability issues or anything else. So you won't have to wait months for updates. At least that's what's planned.
All right, so thank you all for coming out, and we will now prepare the update.
Yeah, it will
Bye-bye.
be releasing.
Bye, everyone.